right, we are now officially recording. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking investing today, kind of some 101 stuff, getting things started. I speak for Eric, I'm pretty sure on this one, and I know I speak for Ryan, guys. Real estate investing is one of the greatest ways to produce wealth, period, the end. And this is what we do all day. If you are a realtor, you're out looking at houses all day long, so you should know your market. You should know what's going on. The question always is do you know what to do if you find a deal? And that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. We're going to kind of just touch a little bit on the basics, the different kinds of investing, what I do, what Eric does, what Zagla does, what Hillary does, and just kind of talk to you a little bit about, when we find a deal, what do we do with it and what does a deal look like? Guys, if you are not saving some sort of money for retirement, there should be two things. I'm going to get on my soapbox real quick. Every deal you close, you earn 3% typically, okay? 1% of that 3, so a third of it, you need to be putting aside because the tax man's going to come looking for it at the end of the year. So just immediately take that, put it aside. I think one of the smartest places to put that is something called a money market account. You can hit me up. It's a really easy thing to open. Talk to a financial advisor. It's a very small interest-bearing account that you typically have high liquidity, meaning you can write checks on it. So when the tax man comes, you can do that. You should also be paying quarterly taxes as well to kind of keep you out of trouble depending on how much money you make. Talk to your accountant, guys. So 1/3 of that needs to be set aside for taxes. The rest of it can go to your daily living. Now, the last part of this, guys, if you're not setting aside, the age-old thing is 10% of your income. 10% of what you make, you should be setting aside for retirement. And if you're not doing that, you're going to be working for a very long time. Do not count on Social Security to get you through all this stuff. You've got to create your wealth, and you might as well do it in real estate because you're looking at it all day long. So, Eric, I'm going to let you start. Talk to us a little bit about what you do and how you got into it and all that good stuff.
Me? I started out, and I don't want to go all the way back. I don't want this to be like a 3-hour thing. But what I did most of the time, well, in my early days, it was creative financing, creative buys because I didn't have any money. So assuming loans and having them carry back seconds and anything I could do to get my hands on a piece of property. That's what I did in the beginning. I always liked the passive income. And then from there, I got into real estate notes. And I did that for 12 years. I still do it, just not on the same scale. But that was my main investing. I really never flipped a lot of houses. Most of what I've done is flipping to create a real estate note and then either selling that note or leveraging it with the bank and holding it for retirement, which is what I have now. It's a long-term play, but eventually the money will just chase you like crazy. So I'm coming up on 10 years since I started creating and holding notes, and they're all getting paid off with the bank, which leaves the back 20 years free and clear. So I'll go out, I'll buy a house, I'll rehab it, owner finance it, create a note. So let's say I'm into the house for 75. I created the note for 100. I can take that note and sell it and realize a $25,000 profit, or I can take that $100,000 note, go to my bank, they'll loan me 75 grand. That pays me back my investment or pays off the hard money guy or the private lender or whoever. And then I put that on a 10-year fix with the bank at like 5 or 6%. And then I have a 30-year loan with the buyer of the house for like 10.5%. So the payments are it's a wash. There's maybe $100 left over. And so you really don't realize any gain for about 10 years. But then once it's paid off, you've got 20 years of cash flow. You don't have to worry about, any tenants, toilets, none of that stuff. It's their home. They fix it. I don't ever hear from them. Service company services it, and I get a big wire every month for all my mortgages. If they stop paying, like on Amber Valley, which is the one that colleges listed, I take it back. I think they paid me for like 3 years, so I think it was $1,000 a month. So they paid down $30,000 ish on the note, and then I'm reselling it, re-owner financing it, or just trying to get a conventional buyer. So that was my thing. Also doing land, traditional flips, this year was probably my first year of actually really going more traditional flips over owner finance. And then wholesaling, I don't do a lot of wholesaling. We did a lot of wholetailing, which is kind of what we did in the very early stages. We would just buy them, take them down, paint them, mark them up, $4 or $5 grand, and sell them. We did that on a pretty big scale, but I've never just tied them up and just wholesale them. I've always wanted to own it. So I'll take it down, do a couple things, and then resell it.
Which I would say technically makes that a flip, technically.
Yeah. But I think most agents, when they start off, are going to want to probably do more like wholesaling, just because they're probably not going to have the capital or the know-how to jump into a flip. And I think you're safer doing, wholesale if you know how to do it. So that's where like Hillary can jump in if she wants and kind of explain that process. And then we can just, right now, like, just so it's not just one long, we can kind of all bounce around and then really dive in.
So real quick though, Eric, just for playing devil's advocate, or just trying to get a little clarification, why did you start doing more flips this year? Like, not what the catalyst was, but what's your end goal with doing the flips?
I mean, we did.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I did owner financing for 12 years. We were doing over 100 houses a year. I think by the time we were done, we were servicing close to $60 million of real estate notes, over 1,000 total that we've done. And I was just, just kind of burnt out. Want to do something different. Also, with notes, you're having to kind of sell the house twice. You're having to sell it to a buyer, then you're having to go find a note buyer and sell it to them. And so you're constantly raising money. I mean, we were having to raise over $12 million a year just to sell our notes. And I didn't want to have to go back down that road. I wanted to be a little more loosey-goosey and kind of do whatever I wanted to do. If I wanted to buy this land and split it up, or if I wanted to buy this house and just owner finance it, if I wanted to buy this house and flip it. But I didn't want to be dependent on having to raise that capital every year.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know right now I've been doing a lot more flipping myself as well, and looking for houses to flip, because with the moratorium that's going on with evictions and foreclosures and all that weirdness, I really think a shoe's going to drop. And flipping is a good way to really raise capital quickly. You're going to be able to put a lot of money in the kitty. Now, the game is, in my opinion, is to try not to spend that money. Try not to use that for your daily living expenses. So I personally, every time I flip a house, I try to put that back in my business account for flipping. And every time I sell a house, traditional real estate wise, I'm trying to use that money, to pay the mortgage, buy groceries, all that good stuff. So that's kind of my strategy, because I have a feeling that when these foreclosures and all this stuff hits, there's going to be a lot of deals out there. And right now, I don't know if anybody else is experiencing this. I'm having a hard time finding a deal.
Finding what?
A deal, just a good deal. I feel like everything's very, very, very tight.
Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Jessica. We never said hi to y'all. Hey, Hillary was trying to say something earlier.
Yeah, Hillary, what were you?
Nothing specific. Just what do y'all want to know?
Well, talk to us a little bit about the process of wholesaling. I know we talked about it last time, but this one's kind of just that 101. So kind of give us a 10,000-foot overview of what wholesaling is.
Okay. So wholesaling is like flipping paper, right? So you're not actually purchasing the property. You're like the middle person between the front the front seller and the back buyer. So you're contracting the property, you're contracting the property at a discounted price, because they aren't going to be able to sell it conventionally. There's too many repairs needed. They're never going to get a loan. And a lot of times they need to get out quickly. So foreclosures coming up, or they're just underwater. They don't have the money for repairs. So they contract it at a discounted price, and then they turn around and find somebody like me, like a wholesaler, and then I assign those rights of the contract to the equitable rights of the contract to a back-end buyer. Sorry, that didn't come out like cohesively as I would have liked it to. But essentially, you're just the middle person bridging the first party and the second party together. When the closing table happens, you get paid, whatever your assignment fee is. So you want to make sure it's discounted enough so that you can have a fee. Typically, there are times too where there's 2 wholesalers on the same transaction. So you just want to make sure the numbers make sense and that the back end buyer is still getting a good deal, because they're going to have to put their money in for flip, for their flip, because typically the buyers purchasing these properties are going to be flipping them. Not all the time, but most of the time. So essentially that's what wholesaling is. You're just selling your rights of the contract to a back end buyer.
And
Gotcha.
wholesaling,
So, and then Erik, you said a lot of people would start that way because it's low capital. Hillary, do you want to explain
Right.
why it's low capital?
Right. So when you execute your contract, you as the wholesaler, you're going to be on the contract as the buyer with the seller, and you have to put your earnest money down. That's the good faith money, and that's required to be delivered to the title company within 3 days. So we at Hilco Homes, we always do $10, because at the end of the day, if for some reason we can't close that transaction, we're only really out $10. If the seller puts up a fuss and doesn't refund it to us, we're not out very much. So it's very low capital to start. I don't know. Everyone kind of picks their own fee. I see people do 50, whatever. I mean, it's whatever you want. We just go 10 because it works. And so we don't lose that much money.
I mean, you can do $1. I mean, there really is no.
Yeah. We
just did $1 on our last one.
I did $1 on the last one. I was like $1.
$1.
Yeah, you could do it that way. It just doesn't make sense for me to mail it and waste the check and everything on $1. So whatever, it's whatever. But yeah, it could be anything you agree upon.
Yeah, it was just a super shady deal. There was going to be about 17 layers of legal, and I was like, okay, this is probably going to fall apart at some point.
Yeah.
The biggest question that most people ask, and Zagla does wholesaling, Hillary does wholesaling, Jessica, you do wholesaling, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess the number one question everyone asks is, well, how do you find them? How do you find them? How do you find them? And I think that is probably the hardest part about wholesaling. Is it's a very competitive market because there is such, a low entry cost to get in on once you find the house, but it's not cheap just to go out there and start finding them. I mean, you've got to really spend either a bunch of time or a bunch of money on marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Can both of y'all just kind of touch briefly on finding people? You don't have to give away your secrets, but are you doing postcard campaigns? Are you doing pre-tax foreclosures? I mean, it seems like the further along we go, the more we're going to the more creative you have to be to try to find people, because everyone knows about mailing to vacant houses or out of state people, right? So, I mean, those people are getting hundreds of postcards, vacant owners. Everyone knows about the foreclosure list, so everyone's attacking that. What are some other ways? I guess what it's coming down to is more, I did some target marketing on Facebook where you pick a zip code and just kind of say, hey, I buy houses in this zip code. And it was okay. Driving for dollars. I mean, that's been played out. So I don't know what the future holds and what y'all are doing, but I don't know if y'all want to touch on that, because that's a big question agents have. Well, I want to do wholesaling. Now what?
Zagla, do you want to answer that?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Oops. Well, here we have a small team of people that cold call, and yes, we do pull lists for them. We skip trace the list, so they are doing pre-foreclosures, tax out of state. Also, we do a lot of micro flipping, where we reach out to a lot of investors, or not investors, wholesalers, like smaller wholesalers that are probably doing a lot of the lead work but don't know a lot of buyers. So we reach out to them, try to get an agreement with them, and then we'll go ahead and send it to our buyers, because we have a pretty good buyers list since we've been doing it for a while. And then a lot of social media and word of mouth.
Yeah, buyers list is huge. I mean, I would say if you're new, start building your buyers list, because you could have the best properties in the world, and if you don't know anyone, Facebook kind of helps with that, because you can post and they have those groups now. But even then, I think New Western, even though I'm not 100% on board with their numbers, a lot of times, a lot of wholesaler numbers are off. So all of y'all are I see some numbers come through and I'm like, hey, y'all are out of your mind. But building your buyers list, because those guys, I mean, the reason they're able to sell some of those at those prices are they have this insane buyers list from all over, like Canada and California and Mexico. And I mean, that, what was that one that went out of business? New World or World something?
World Ventures?
It was like initials.
Definitely not out of business.
At work.
ATW.
ATW. Thank
Oh,
you.
ATW.
So like they were getting
Store
all those
there.
guys. What's that?
I used to work there a long time
Oh
ago.
yeah. So they used to get all their stuff from like what Ireland or somewhere over there.
Australia.
Yeah,
They
thank
did
you.
all owner finance with Australian
Australia.
investors.
And so, you know, those buyers lists are invaluable. So I'd say build a buyers list.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
the one thing I think the coolest thing about wholesaling is yeah, it's a little bit of it's less upfront money, but you're basically trading it for sweat equity. Like, can you get out there? Can you hustle? Can you get it done? Now, I will say, if you've got real estate clients that are looking to buy and sell houses, do not overlook that. Don't put that on the back burner because that's going to be a lot quicker and easier money, in my opinion. But if while you're out there looking at houses, you know, if you see something that's just not going to sell, chase it down. You know what I mean? If you see something vacant, chase it down. Skip trace it, which means go see if you can find the owner, look at the county records, figure it out, and get it under contract.
And it goes both ways. So 3 of my last listings, I don't really pursue a lot of listings. I pass that on to agents. But 3 of my last listings were, they called originally off marketing, or they knew me, or they heard about me, or whatever, to go buy the property. One of them was on Lake McQueeney, and I gave them a number. I said, I'll be at this price cash, and they go, oh hell no, you're crazy. And so I'm like, well, I can list it for you. And so I win either way. I made 12 grand on a listing. I mean, I was shooting for like a $50,000 back end on a flip, but at least I didn't walk away with nothing. I think the marketing campaign for that was like $1,000. So, I mean, I made $11,000 on a $1,000 marketing campaign. The other one in Seguin, I think I made like 5 grand on the listing. It was lower, but same thing. She called and we just couldn't get our numbers right, so I listed it for her.
Yeah, and if you're interested in wholesaling, we did a whole thing about how to really cover yourself as a realtor. You don't want to lose your license over this, guys. So go back to the agent's page, go to the YouTube page, find the one about wholesaling, and you just get into a kind of a weird, what they call fiduciary problem. Who do you represent? Okay, and that's the one thing you really want to be careful of if you're going to do wholesaling. Now, if you're going to go into flipping, which is what I've been finding myself a lot more doing, and kind of what my strategy is right now is I'm trying to flip as many houses as I possibly can until the right deal comes along for me to hold as a rental or an owner finance. And so that's kind of my game. I'm trying to raise as much capital as I can unless I just find the perfect rental property, or the perfect BRRRR is what they call it, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and then repeat. In my opinion, and some people might disagree with me on this one, I'm looking for a BRRRR property to be about a 70% deal, maybe 65, meaning it's just got to be a hell of a deal. By the way, whenever you hear a 65% deal or a 70% deal or whatever you might hear on that, what that means is whatever the purchase price is plus whatever the rehab is blank percent of the after repair value. So if I think the whole thing's said and done, I could sell this house for $100,000, and I think the rehab is 20. In order for me to get a 60% deal, I need to buy it for 40, put 20 into it, so I'm into it for 60,000, which is 60% of 100. If it's a $200,000 house, I want to be less than 120. The reason why that is because when you go to refinance it at the end, banks will typically only lend you up to about, I think if you're really got good credit and good bank, they'll lend you up to 80%. Right now, I feel like a lot of them are like 70, 75. So I just want to give myself the wiggle room. That way I can get all of my cash out. Meaning I buy the house for 40, I put 20 into it. So I've got $60,000 out of pocket. When I go to refinance it for 70, they're going to give me 70 grand back. And now I've made 10 grand. So I got a little bit of pocket money and I still own the property. So that's why I'm looking for those kind of deals right now. And it's a little tough. A lot of people are really trying to stay at 75% deals. Wholesalers send things out all the time thinking that 75% is the magic number. And, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. You just got to be careful. You always want to give yourself plenty of wiggle room, because before we started recording, Eric and I were talking about a rehab that he was working on that he had. What'd you estimate, Eric? 55,000. It ended up being an $80,000 rehab.
Yeah, I'm into it right now for 81. Just the rehab, not into it, but the rehab is at 81,881.
Yeah, guys. I mean, some of these houses, as I've started repeating what Eric calls them, he calls them onions. So you pull back one thing, and next thing you know, you're replacing plumbing or electrical, and you just get deeper and deeper and deeper into this.
I have one on Kirk, 358 Kirk, that I had about a $50,000 budget, and within like the second week of demo, I mean, it jumped up. It's going to end up, I'm into it for 62 right now, rehab. It'll probably end up being 80, because it was just like plumbing was shot, foundation was shot. We ended up having to pull off sheetrock to redo electric, because the electric was all messed up. And at that point, I just said, gut it, So now it's insulation, sheetrock, plumbing, foundation, roof. And that adds up quick. People are like, hey, I like seeing the ones, I'll get from wholesalers, and it's, $50,000 purchase price, 25 rehab, 140 ARV. And they send a picture, and it's like there ain't no way in hell you're going to do 25,000. And I actually got into an argument with a really good friend of mine the other day. He probably doesn't like me right now, but I bit my tongue for a long time, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start replying honestly to a lot of these people, these wholesalers. And so he sent that to me, and I said, I did my numbers on a calculator. It was like, here, you know what? I'll even pull it up. That way I can talk intelligently. But it was, so it was 119 ARV, and I always multiply that by 0.7, and then I subtract the repairs. And I had 60,000 in repairs. He wanted 55,000 for the house, and his reply was, sorry for wasting my time. Like he said that, sorry for wasting his time. But I mean, he had like a $25,000 rehab, and the house needed to be gutted.
I've actually run into that problem a lot here lately, where people are sending me $20,000, $30,000, and as a wholesaler, especially prior, because I started in wholesaling, and it was always, yeah, you could do it with this, you could do it with this, but then now that I'm on the flipping end, I'm like, yeah, you could if everything went perfectly, and most of the time that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And I think that what people don't realize is a $20,000 rehab. I'm not saying 20 grand isn't a lot of money, because it is, but 20 grand gets you interior paint, exterior paint, flooring, a roof, and hopefully HVAC if you have a good HVAC. That's it.
Yeah, maybe.
The
reason I was talking about that is, if you're going to be an investor, the point of that whole thing is do your own numbers. Don't just take, because I mean, their job is to make the profit look better so they can move the bottom scale up. And I'm not going to lie, if I was wholesaling a house, I'd probably fluff that a little bit too. So just ignore that number, do your own research, and make sure that your numbers are right.
And guys, when it comes to estimating rehab, right? I mean, I've been working alongside Eric for years now, and I'd say I'm probably about 65 to 70% good as Eric is on this thing. Somewhere in there, like I'm getting pretty good at being able to estimate these rehabs off the cuff. And I'm going to tell you right now, the last 3 houses I've done, I've been underneath by about 20% of what I thought the rehab was going to be. It takes practice. So if you're going to start doing, this is your first time and like, man, I'm going to go flip this house, get somebody else's eyes on it. We have a lot of investors here in White Line. We've got people that know what they're talking about. Get somebody else's eyes on it just to get a second opinion. We're happy to help. Don't take advantage of it. Don't drive us around town looking at 76 houses because you just don't know. But if you find one that you really think you hit spot on, get somebody to help you out with it, or work alongside with somebody, bring some value to the table with somebody, and help as much as you possibly can for them. And that way they can turn around and help you as well, or at least get alongside. so
Hey,
you can see these numbers.
Hillary, how do y'all like? What do you use? I get a lot of y'all's deals sent to me, and y'all's numbers are pretty good. I know y'all done rehabs. It's always funny like the guy that sent me that. Um, his other comment was, you're getting screwed. Which I kind of pissed me off. I was like, I'm getting screwed. So like you're saying I don't know how to rehab a house or something like that. And it's like, man, I've forgotten about more rehabs than you've done. But Hillary, how do you come up with your rehab numbers?
It
And,
depends.
and did they change from when you were just wholesaling to after you've done some flips? Was there like that, oh crap, this costs a lot more than I thought?
We're always really conservative with our rehab numbers. Marco and I like to play it on the safer side. So we give ourselves like extra budget because we have had scenarios where we're in the middle of flipping and the foundation was fixed. Therefore, like we drove back the next day and like the whole roof was screwed up. So we knew, okay, there's always that miscellaneous budget just so that we can protect ourselves in those worst case scenarios. Because the worst thing is you have the money's already tight because you're trying to fit numbers to make the deal work. And then out the gate, there's like all these extra issues you weren't anticipating. So we never force deals to happen. If the numbers just don't make sense and it's not good enough for us, we don't even like try and chance that. We just walk away because there's going to be another deal. And we always give ourselves like at least a $5,000 miscellaneous budget just for anything. Maybe like we get a stop work order. Maybe we had that issue where one of our plumbers forgot to pull the permit. And so we had this whole issue with the city turning off our utilities and everything. So we always save some money just for like those unknowns. But typically, obviously we try and walk every property. Now we have purchased some properties where we have not walked it. And so we kind of just go from the basic 12 per square feet, like the average that you kind of go with just for quick numbers, and then like 15 for full cosmetic. And then, you always want to consider like one or two major structural systems are going to need to be fixed or repaired significantly, especially in these like more deteriorated properties. So we always try and get 3 bids from every different category. So if we know we need to do a roof, we want to get 3 roof bids because they might have a range from all over, right? So they could be super cheap, which we probably won't go with. You kind of get what you pay for, to like super expensive, and we might find like a good middle ground. So we do bids for that, bids for electrical, bids for all of those things, and we kind of just see what works. But Marco has pretty good skill on being able to walk a property and understand numbers. So I kind of give him that part of the business. But we definitely always do conservative. I would say that probably should be your biggest takeaway, is be conservative on your numbers and don't try and squeeze things in saying I can get cheap labor or I can get cheap materials. I feel like if you try and really go the cheap route, you're really going to have like pain problems after the fact, especially if you're keeping it as a rental. So the whole point for us is we do straight buy and holds. We don't flip. And we try and rehab everything like right under like a flip level quality. So we'll put everything in there that we need to do except for maybe granite, right? Because I'm not going to like spoil my tenants with nice shit when they're just going to like mess it all up. So we do like a really high level rental flip. And I don't want anyone calling me a month later saying their toilet doesn't work. Well, it should work because it's brand new and it was just installed. So there should be no issues, right? So it's just finding like a good middle ground, thinking about your goals, and then kind of going from there. Because everyone's got different goals. And
yeah, I want to piggyback on some brilliance that you said right there. She says she takes it up to basically a flip. Whenever you're going to flip, you're trying to squeeze every nickel you can out of that. So you are going to put granite. I've got the flip right now. We're putting granite in. We're doing that, nice floors, the whole bit. What she's saying is she takes it almost to that level because she doesn't want anything expensive broken. But what that does is it reduces what's called a capital expenditure that she should be setting aside. Guys, whenever you do a rental property, let's say your payment on it is $600 a month and you rent it out for $1,000 a month, and everybody's going, wow, I made $400 a month cash flow. No, you didn't, okay? You need to be setting some of that aside for CapEx, is the abbreviated term, capital expenditures. You need to be setting some of that aside because it will be vacant sometimes. You need to be setting some of that aside for general maintenance issues. You need to be setting some of that aside. So if I was making $400, if that was the same number, $600 to 1,000, I mean, I'd have to run the numbers, but I'd probably consider that about $100 a month cash flow house. I'd be taking the other $300 and setting it aside because one of these days something's going to go wrong. The roof's going to leak, the toilet's going to break, whatever. But what's brilliant about her is she's really raising the level of that, so less things are going to break. At least for, she's going to buy herself at least 5 years. You know what I mean? If you put in good stuff, if you put in a nice AC, it's going to take somebody 5 to 10 years to really break that thing. So that's kind of one of the reasons.
I've had some guys knock some ACs out in a year or two.
Stay on them about changing the air filter. How about that?
Yeah.
How much do you guys, set aside for, for flips, for capital gains? Like, what is that? How does that play into your numbers, and how do you anticipate that? I know it's different for everybody considering who their CPA is and how they do their taxes, but what's a good number for an investor who's just starting out to kind of get familiar with what that capital gains they should be holding?
Well, I think it's ordinary income because we're in the real estate world.
Yeah. So
it's a lot higher for a flip than
it's a lot higher. You got to be careful. You're using the right term. Which is capital gains.
Okay.
However, if you look at the tax code and you look at a capital gains tax rate, that's 15%. But that's not considered in real estate. That's like if you're investing in stocks. The capital stock would be a 15%. If you're taking the stuff down as ordinary income, it's whatever your ordinary income, whatever your marginal tax rate is.
Okay.
Okay. So, it could be anywhere from 3% to 30%. You know what I mean? It can be anywhere in between there. It depends on how much money you're planning on making and how much you're writing off and all of that. A good general rule of thumb, and anybody wants to disagree with me, it's a third for me. It's a third. Every time it's a third. And like my general thought process, again, guys, all of that money I make stays on that side of my business. I'm not pulling it out if I do not have to. All that money's staying over there, so it's already kind of in an account for me anyway. So I'm basically keeping 100% of it. And also remember, guys, you can 1031 things, which is it's a tax-free movement of money. So
I don't know, I could be wrong, but I thought I heard that Biden is trying to put an end to 1031.
Go vote, people. Go vote.
Go vote.
And he wants to raise the capital gains tax to like 28%.
Yeah, but that's on the investment side. But it's the same thing every year, guys. I mean, it's just a general election issue. Pay attention, as you get deeper down this rabbit hole and as you start getting tax bills, one of the first things that freaks you out the first year you are a true entrepreneur is you get that tax bill at the end of the year. It's like when there's a comma and how much money you owe the government, you're kind of freaking out because you're used to getting money back. And it's like, no, you haven't paid all year. When you worked at McDonald's, they were taking chunks out all the time.
Keep in mind, too, the more complex you get in your business, you might owe taxes, but you also are going to have to pay that hefty CPA bill. So, just so y'all know, Marco and I pay almost $15,000 a year just to pay our CPA to do our taxes because we have so many things going on with so many different properties that taxes are our biggest expense. Now, they do a great job of saving us costs, so we don't really owe a lot for taxes or anything. But your CPA is going to be your biggest expense every year.
Are you talking taxes and bookkeeping there?
I'm talking their fee just to do our taxes.
Oh,
that's not bookkeeping fee. We do separate bookkeeping.
Ours. Yeah, it's about $300 and something per month per company for bookkeeping. So
I pay my dad to bookkeep, but
that's a whole nother Zoom meeting. Is I don't feel you should have to hire a licensed professional to pay him $15,000 to figure out taxes. I mean, there's got to be a better way to do taxes, but that's a whole nother thing. But if you start investing in the real estate world and you're holding rental properties and you're flipping houses and you're wholesaling, you will absolutely need to get a bookkeeper and an accountant to manage and go over that and make sure that, you're not getting screwed, because your biggest expense at the end of the year is going to be taxes. I mean, every year I'm like, I owe what? Where is it? And a lot of my stuff is unrealized profit. So when you do real estate notes and probably even rental properties, let's say it's leveraged with a bank, And let's say your cash flow, like Colin said, is $100 a month. And at the end of the year, you're like, oh, I made $1,200. I only got to pay tax on that. But the tax man comes along and says, no, you made $6,000. You got to pay tax on that. And you're like, well, no, I didn't. Well, yeah, because you were paying down principal to the bank. That's profit. Even though you didn't realize it's unrealized profit, you're paying down principal. So on like real estate notes, I may have $100,000 tax implication that I've got to pay in. And I'm like, I didn't make 100,000 on my notes. Like, well, yeah, but you paid that down. So your debt is lower.
So a good rule of thumb, once again, if it's your first time, if this is investing 101, right, this can get very, very difficult because when Erik sells a note, he has to realize 100% of his gains right away. I think you can defer it over 5 years, but then that becomes a nightmare with other things.
It depends on your CPA.
Whenever you have, you need a CPA. Whenever you have a rental property, what is it? Is it 28 years, 27 years that you can depreciate a property over? Huh?
It's not much.
It's less than 30. I know that. But you can take it down. You can accelerate it. There's all kinds of different ways to do this. But guys, do one property. Set 33% aside. Just put it aside. And then talk to your accountant at the end of the year. If you've done one and you've set a third aside, I promise you're okay. You're going to be mad because you've had $30,000 sitting in the bank all year long, and then they're going to take it away from you. But you're safe. Okay?
Right. So let's go back to, we kind of went down a rabbit hole. Let's go back to people that are watching this are going to want to know, like, yeah, I don't care about that. How do I invest? Like how do I do a deal? So Hillary explained really well on wholesaling. You put the house under contract, you assign the contract, etc. Zagla, did you have anything that you wanted to add to the wholesaling side that the people would need to know? The good, the bad, and you're muted. So just FYI, the good, the bad.
Zagla, you're muted.
There you go.
Yeah. Mainly just leverage relationships that you make. You're going to meet a lot of people and a lot of wholesalers. We're all in the same community. We all know everybody. And just be honest and leverage those friendships. Because somebody one day might not know somebody who wants to sell, but then one day might. And then they'll think of you. That's
I agree. I mean, it really is. It's a relationship business, and there's not that many people. You may see a lot of people at these meetups and stuff, but most of those people aren't doing the deals. The ones that are actually doing the deals, there's only a handful of us. And you want to get to know them, because I can't go out and do the volume of flips and properties that I do on my own. I have to rely on wholesalers and other investors, as well as myself, but it would be impossible. I'd have to have this big, massive team and this big, massive marketing fund to go out there. I don't know why Colin went swimming just now. To go out there and, to find properties, and most of them may not even fit what I'm trying to buy. So networking is huge when you want to get into real estate. But the main thing is, I think a lot of people get analysis paralysis. I've talked to some agents where they ask the same question over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, you have to start. You have to go. I may not be the smartest guy, but I'm not a procrastinator. I just go. Like, I'll be like, hey, I want to try this new marketing thing. And I go. Now, I test it, so I'm smart about it, but you have to take action. If you're going to be a real estate investor, you just got to get out there. You're going to mess up. I still mess up. I got a house this year that I lost money on, and I've done over 1,000 flips. I've been doing it for 20 years, and it happens.
It's true.
Erik, I think that sorry. I think your question I'm trying to listen for an answer as far as like new people that want to wholesale. How do I get a deal? How do I get a deal? And I don't think that there's a real true answer. Like, it's not a one answer thing. Like, this is what you have to do. If what I've learned is to put your feet on the ground and go. you don't, most of the time there's like no money, you know, like you're just starting, you're an entrepreneur, you left your job, and maybe you have money. If you're like me, I didn't have money. So it's kind of like, what can I do? So while yes, the driving for dollars is, you know, it's tedious and it's time consuming, I still definitely recommend that you do that, because houses go, like, they deteriorate all the time. And sometimes people aren't selling this year, but they're selling next year, or they're selling, you know, and right now there's so many people that want to be wholesalers that by the time you get to them, they've already talked to like 10 wholesalers, you know, and it's forging that relationship and getting them to like you and giving them like fair deals. Right now, I feel like there's so many wholesalers out there that are really pushing, you know, 80% deals. And I know, and I see that it's getting there. I get that. But that's not what I want. So I feel like if that's not what I want on the flipping side, then I need to go and I need to knock on those doors and I need to find those people myself, because I'm not going to get it from a wholesaler. Every once in a while, you might, but it just, you know, so I think if there's an answer to that question, it's, you know, pull the list, go knock on doors, talk to the people that are selling the houses, as opposed to the other wholesalers, I guess.
Where do you, here's a question. Where do you get the list?
We do free ones first. So we pay this one lady. What's her name? Mary? Is that right? Mary. Maybe all of y'all know Mary, Crazy Mary. But I mean, we get the free ones, we pay for them. There was, when I was with Texas All Cash, they pulled like massive lists, like 30,000 number lists. Like, it was insane. And, you know, we had all these callers and whatnot, but, you know, for me, and I think for maybe all of us, but maybe not all of us, but for the newer people, like our teams are 2 to 5 people maybe. So those big lists are for like bigger, or people that want to devote 4 hours a day to calling.
And what kind of list are you getting? Are you getting out of state? Are you getting vacant? Are you getting...
We get the vacant absentee, the foreclosure, the electricity ones, right? That the cutoffs, the
which is crazy. I can't
renters.
believe that's open information, but yeah.
Yeah, the ones that are like landlords. We get the landlord list as well. Yeah, I mean,
Are you putting that into, are you taking that list, copy and pasting it into any sort of a skip trace software to get you the phone numbers?
yes.
What skip trace software are you using?
We use Propelio.
Okay.
And Propelio is really cool because you can, it's kind of like having the MLS as well.
I've used it.
So,
Like
yeah.
Propelio and PropStream are the two that I would recommend if you're gonna not use like MLS. If like if you don't, I guess we're all realtors, so never mind. Well, you can use MLS, but PropStream and Propelio, I would also recommend.
Did y'all know that you can get a list from the courthouse
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
for $75?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any list you want?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how I do it.
Yeah, we get the tax delinquent list from the courthouse, and man, it is
I mean,
like
you can get
and probates. Probates seem to be like
county.
Probate, yeah.
You can go to the appraisal district and you can tell them I want A, B, C, D, E, F, and I want it in an Excel spreadsheet, and they'll give it to you.
Yeah, they'll give it to you on a disk. So hopefully your computer still has a CD-ROM.
Yeah. No, they'll actually email it to you.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah. It's, I mean, what you work, like the list you're getting is probably a lot easier because it's in a weird, funky format, and then you have to get it taken out of that format, and then you've got like a gazillion of them, and then you know it's tedious, but
yeah, that was the point I was making earlier. It is sweat equity. I mean, you can get it for cheap, but you're gonna have to bust your hump.
Yep. And you have to commit. Go ahead. Sorry, Hillary. Go.
No, you go, Jessica.
I was just gonna say you have to commit to making those phone calls. You know, like call these people and then call them again and then call them again. That's where the difficulty comes in, It's the follow-up, like commit.
Are you using automated calls? Are you like the automated voicemail thing, automated text, or are you actually physically calling them and talking?
We use Mojo Caller, and
Mojo
we'll
Dialer?
do Mojo Dialer, and we'll do
Sits there
drop mails
goes and then.
Yep, basically.
Hillary, what are y'all doing?
I was just going to say that, like, at the beginning too, as a wholesaler, when Marco and I first started, it's like you have to decide, do you have more time or do you have more money? And when we first started, we had more time because we didn't have kids at the time. We weren't married yet. We had no money. So we literally would just get in the car. We would always go by Starbucks, get coffee, and then we would drive, and Marco would drive and I would write everything down. And then I finally got smarter and was like, it'd be quicker if I just typed everything in an Excel sheet in the car. And then when we got home, because we had no life and we had no kids, we would like put a movie on in the background at night, and we would drink wine, and we would just like, he'd take half the list, I take half the list. We'd look him up on BCAD, fill in all the info. We did hand direct mail. We would like print letters from FedEx, like a template we had, and then we would hand sign everything. Then we would hand address everything, and then spend a million hours stuffing all the envelopes and like getting them ready to get mailed. But we would do a lot of direct mail at the beginning, and you do have the expense of like printing and like stamp and mailing and everything like that. But we actually got a lot of our deals that way. That was more so for like us personally as investments. But yeah, whatever deal that came our way that we couldn't pick up personally, we would wholesale. And that's kind of how Hilco started, was just the two of us just doing that constantly. So like any spare moment we did that. Now at this point, we don't really do as much direct mail, although I did find it to be pretty successful. But you have to keep in mind that it's all experimental because like things change, right? So like this month, this quarter, like actual letters are, successful, but then the next quarter they might not be, and maybe next time it's postcards, maybe the quarter after that it's like jumbo postcards. You just really don't know. It's like always an experiment, but you have to make sure you're hitting your list at least 8 to 10 times. So a lot of people mail out like $1,000 worth of letters, and then next month they stop trying because they're like, oh, well, that was a lot of money and I didn't get anything. Well, you're gonna have to spend a lot of money to find the one deal that's gonna make you a ton of money. So I recommend that if for those of y'all that don't have the money to be paying for lists and all those things, go and create your own list, because the list you buy online, everyone else is buying the same list. So you have to be competitive, you have to like kind of create your own list. And so we have Excel sheets where I even have the dates of all the times I've mailed them out. So I know when I mailed it, I know the next time I mailed it, and I know I can keep track that way. I'd say we get deals after like our 8th mail drop. So you have to keep hitting the same address, and they keep your letter and your postcards. One of the deals we bought, this lady had held on to our postcard for like 2 years, and she was like, oh, I've been waiting. I got yours. I liked your letter. So, you just never know. It's all a big experiment. But
I just bought one like that, Hillary.
Yeah.
Like
but now it's like we don't have a whole lot of time to do a lot of the driving for dollars like we used to do. So now we pay for the list, and we still use the ones we've customized in the past.
Hey, did you know that also you can go to USPS.com and they have a thing called every door direct mail?
Yeah.
Have any of y'all used that?
I haven't yet.
I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
How does it work?
USPS.com. It's called every door direct mail. I don't know. I tripped across it last week and I'm like, holy shit, this is cool. And you can go and what?
I didn't click on it. I said I have seen the ads.
Yeah, and you can go and like literally pick a mail route and just mail to that. It's like you can you can zoom in and literally pick like this mail route in this subdivision and do a direct mail to that. Pull the names right there.
Can you do that?
Is there a way to share anything, Colin?
Yeah, share your screen down at the bottom.
I'm not sharing my screen.
Does it have to be in the
Can I like,
What you looking
how do I
at?
text?
Yeah, what you looking at? Why can't you share your screen?
Because he doesn't know how.
What's it called, Eric? I'll show mine. What's it called again?
Hit it over here.
Every door.
Go to your chat. I just posted the link. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I'll show you my screen.
Yeah, what you looking at?
Share screen. It says host.
Yeah, if I
disabled
showed you my missing eyebrows, you get to share your screen.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing, Colin.
Yeah, you
Is it because you have Vanilla Ice as your home screen?
Colin,
Buddy.
allow me to do it.
Hold on.
Hurry up.
Don't make me kick you out of the room.
There's Blanca. Okay.
Yay, Blanca.
What up? I'm tired of looking at Kevin in his pink suit with his flowers over
Here,
there.
I'll share mine. How about that? I got it pulled up.
All right.
Shout out to Kevin for doing an open house for me this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin.
More agents need to do that. So that's it right there. I played with it a little bit. I mean, I don't think now's the time to really try to figure it out. But once I figure it out, we can do a video on it. But I just thought it was cool that you can go in and select a route. You know, like that's really narrowing it down. So pick a zip code.
Going through it right now on the screen.
Yeah, and if you zoom in, it'll show you. Yeah, see all the little mail routes. You can highlight them. Go highlight it, Colin. So that's a route. You can click on it. It tells you their age, income, what it would cost to mail to that route, etc.
$151 for 759 people.
Wow.
Yeah, but I think that's just the postage, right? That's actually really good.
I don't know, but if
All right,
any,
nobody else
Will it let you?
Sorry, I gotta close
Will it
that
let you
door.
pick and choose like different properties from that route?
Does it have?
I haven't dug into it.
Doubt it.
I doubt it
doubt
too.
it
It's going to
too.
be just a mailer. But if any of y'all get any leads off of this, I get 25%.
Yeah, no, well, I am on the call. I just said.
Okay, sir.
Isn't it just? Oh yeah, $100.
I'm super excited about this one. Tell me.
So,
Just
Oh, no.
mute yourself. I'll mute you. Never
That's
mind.
cool. We'll all look into that.
all right, Colin.
All right.
What else do you want to talk about?
You know, the one thing I want to talk about a little bit.
Hey, can you pull us back to our big screen? I
Yeah.
think you're still sharing your screen.
Hold on.
And I'm sitting here
Do
watching. your
any
mouth
of you
move
guys
around.
know if you could turn what's the name of that CRM you were talking about to turn into a dialer?
Time or
Podio.
Which?
Oh, I don't know. I could ask Marco. He would know.
Integrated with Podio.
I've never used auto dialers.
Because
Our
we have
auto-
Freedom Soft right now.
I think
Like
we.
$200.
I think our auto dialer did connect to Podio, so I can look into it and let you know.
Which one was it? Do you remember?
I think Mojo dialer.
I believe
Mojo.
Call Tools has a
You
integration as
wanna
well.
Oh,
call-
who's that?
Yeah, it's probably called.
Who's that? Kevin?
Yeah, that's me.
It's like, man, you sound like that late night guy. Yeah, this is Kevin from the The love doctor.
His eyebrows too. I don't like that.
Well, I gotta go, guys. I'm getting ready to get on the road, get to San Antonio.
All right, man. Good luck.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit about, guys, is you got to remember when you're wholesaling. There's so many questions. Every time we talk about investing, I feel like it always just defaults to wholesaling. You know what I mean? And when you default to wholesaling, guys, you create a job. You're making money. Yeah, you may make a $5,000 assignment fee or $10,000, or you see these guys on these YouTube channels like I made a $100,000 assignment fee. Great. Be careful. Those are few and far between. You know what I mean? If you're following these guys, be very careful that you're following guys that are selling information and not a lifestyle. If it's just them in their car flashing checks, they're probably full of crap. Okay, just flat out. If he's like, "Oh, I drive this car, I drive that," whatever. Good for you, man. Because you're going to end up getting a lot of BS on it. I think personally that the main thing that you need to remember when you're doing real estate investing is you can't create wealth if you're selling everything. There's definitely a huge part of it that if you want to be considered a millionaire, you need to have $1 million worth of stuff. You know what I mean? $1 million worth of cash, $1 million worth of whatever it is. If you're wholesaling, making $5,000 or $10,000 at a time, it becomes a job. It's kind of the same thing with flipping when you're flipping these things. So you really want to find ways to hold, which is like what I said, every property that I analyze right now, I'm analyzing it as both a flip and as a rental and as an owner finance deal, because I want to find rentals and owner finance deals that I can keep longer, that we can keep in our portfolio. Because one of the nice things about rental properties is, yes, you got to deal with renters. Yes, there's a pain in the butt behind that, but they are paying down a mortgage for you. So my main goal right now personally is to find a rental property that will make sense on a 15-year note, because I have two little girls. Okay, one of them's about to turn 7, and I've got, I don't know, probably 30 grand socked away for her in her 529, but I don't really like that because I'm earning 8% a year. If I can find a $150,000 house that I can put on a 15-year note and have somebody move in there and pay that house down for me for 15 years, at the end of 15 years, I've got a house free and clear that I can sell for her college. Okay. If she decides to go to college. If she doesn't decide to go to college, then I'm going to keep the house, or I'm going to sell it and make 150 grand. You get what I'm saying? So try and find ways to be able to acquire properties and hold on to them. Eric's a big proponent, and me too by association, of doing the owner finance deal. The problem is, you know, at the end of 30 years, you tend to lose it. You know, you're going to get paid off, but you're going to get paid 3 times what that house is actually worth. So if you have a $150,000 house, you're going to make $450,000 on that house. So try and make sure you're analyzing your deals when you sit down and look at them to possibly be able to hold them. And I think we need to do, you know, this is kind of investing 101. I feel like we've done a lot about wholesaling, but I think maybe the next one, Eric, we should sit down and really talk about, you know, the numbers of owner finance and, you know,
I just kind of wanted to brief, you know, just kind of like what we did was perfect. Just to kind of get people excited. We can break it down to where like Hillary or Zagla or whoever in the company that's really dialed in on wholesaling, if they wanted to, could have an entire Zoom on wholesaling. And we could have an entire Zoom on flipping. I mean, we can even go do some video like where we're out at the houses and we'll walk them and, you know, this is what I mean, we can get as intense as y'all want to get on it. You know, I just don't want to bore people to death where they're watching an hour-long video of, you know, me on the whiteboard going, you know, here's this number and that number, because some people don't like that. So I just kind of wanted to do an overview, see what people are interested in, and then maybe in the comments, whenever you post this to the Facebook page, we can really dive into specific items, or maybe it's an entire Zoom meeting on, you know, cold calling. Maybe it's an entire, you know, we can really shrink it down.
I have a question. I know we kind of talked about a little bit of tools with dialers, but for somebody who's maybe going to take down their first flip, what about like a scope of work spreadsheet, or do you depend on your contractor to provide that for you, or is there a certain Excel spreadsheet that you kind of go through when you're, you know, calculating your numbers, or how do you organize that?
I use, was it Ron LeGrand, I think, or someone way back in the day, you know, the Keep It Simple platform where it's, I guess if you're brand new, yes, you would probably need to do a couple deals. You would need to get some bids. I kind of go in and I'm like, you know, if I'm gutting a bathroom and redoing it, it's $5 grand. On a standard house, if I'm redoing the kitchen with new cabinets, like the Home Depot shaker style, you know, inexpensive cabinets and countertop, etc., is $5 grand. Roofs used to be $5 grand. Now it seems like they're freaking insanely expensive, but I'm averaging $7,000 to $10,000 for a roof. Foundation is all over the place. I mean, but I would say typically $6,000 to $10,000, and then you're going to pop plumbing, and you're going to have to do that. Flooring, man, my flooring, I change it a lot, but it runs installed, you know, somewhere around $4,000 to $6,000 on a standard. You know, my houses are 1,200 to 1,600 to 1,800 square foot. So I kind of do a lot of these, you know, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and then like Hillary said, I'll add a big buffer on it. So I know the roof, 6 to 10 grand. Bathrooms, they always cost me $5 grand because I gut them. New tub, tile surround, vanity, etc. Kitchens are always about $1,800 to $2,000 for the cabinets. I do butcher block, recessed sink, and then you know, stove, etc., etc. So $5,000 there. So interior, if you got to do sheetrock repair and paint, you know, you're at $4 or $5 grand. Exterior, you shouldn't be that high, but there's always like wood rot and fascia messed up, and you know, little things. So again, default up to $3 to $5 grand. Windows, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
You know,
Windows are so expensive.
Yeah, crazy expensive. On Cherrywood, I mean, windows cost me, I think, $6,000 or $7,000. and I didn't even look at them. They all had curtains, and I walk in the house and I'm like, yeah. I mean, I can walk in and out of a house 3 minutes and go, it's a $50,000-$60,000 rehab, you know, whatever. And I never pulled back the damn curtain. And once my guy demoed it, I walked in there and I'm like, it was $7,000. So that took me from my 55 almost to mid 60s right there. And then we had some AC issues converting it from gas to electric, which then brought in an electrician, and now I'm at 70. You know, just like that. But use a $5,000 one. You know, five. I don't know when the last time I've rehabbed a house for under $30,000. You know, I mean, it's hard. It's hard. It really is.
When we do it, we'll walk a property like 1 or 2 times with our contractor if they're brand new to us, and we just write down everything that we want them to do. So it's literally everything, like replace this, all 3 fans. We count them up, and then he gives us a bid for the labor because we'll pay for the material.
That's very important to touch on, Hillary. Break that up, because a lot of these guys, they'll just go in there and guess. Oh, it's 1,500 in materials. It may only cost you 500. Some of these guys, honestly, some of these contractors have no idea. You know, and you're either going to get screwed where they're going to be like, oh, I didn't budget that, or you're getting screwed because they put this big fluff number in there for.
Because they know that you're a new investor, so they're gonna like charge you on stupid shit. So like at the beginning, Marco and I used to actually physically go to Home Depot and pick out everything we wanted, and we just had our contractor pick it up and like charge us for for labor. But we're kind of like in a rhythm now where we do the same thing every single time. It's the same paint, it's the same exterior, it's the same you know, finish, the same ceiling fan. And so you have like a structure that, you know, you kind of use and as a template, and things can change accordingly. But that's all just like learning after time of being like, okay, then I was like, I don't want to go to Home Depot anymore. So we just like, you know, maybe you type out all of your lists into an Excel sheet and you say, for lighting, this is the specific one we want with this SKU code or whatever the product number. And then you know exactly how much that fan is, you know, and so you kind of create your own thing. But as far as like a basic one people use, I don't think so. I think everyone kind of just creates their own list as they get more experienced, and also trying to systematize the process, because that used to take up a lot of our time. You know, at the beginning when we'd be like spending all day at Home Depot. So after our first rehab, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't fun anymore. I thought the rehabs would be fun. And I was like, nope, I don't like it. I don't want to be in there anymore. So now I just get phone calls. Oh, so-and-so's here for Home Depot. What's your credit card number?
Yep.
I don't have to do it.
Last 4 of your number, expiration date, and they're out the door. Easy.
Are there any other golden hidden gems other than Home Depot, Lowe's? Like, is there any other?
There's Guadalupe Lumber Company.
Or okay.
Go check Guadalupe.
I mean, that's kind of.
Did you hear? Guadalupe.
Sorry. If at some point you're gonna what's that saying? Step over dollars to pick up pennies, kind of a thing.
Just go out and do it.
I mean, if you can run around to 10 different stores and save a couple $100, my personality is just get it. You know, they're like, oh, well, I can go to Guadalupe and save $10.
But then you had to drive all the way out there, spend your time, your energy, your car. You know, we did that too.
Yeah, certain things like windows, MG, I think MG on military, is it MG? They typically have good window prices, but again, you're doing this, so I don't know, I'm bad. I just default to Home Depot 99%.
Yeah, we do too.
It's easy. My guys can go in there, like Hillary said, they do a phone sale. I can be driving down the road in 30 seconds or less. It's paid for. My guys are back to the house and we're done. I have Abigail helping me on a couple rehabs, and she likes Lowe's. And it drives me nuts because, like, it's not the same system. They want all their credit card information, then they're not sending me emails. I mean, Home Depot did a really good job with the Pro Rewards account, which is what you would need to get. Plus, they're actually doing cash back now. I wish they would have started at the beginning of the year. But everything is right there. You can log in and you can scroll through. So my bookkeeper actually has my login, and she goes into my Home Depot thing and matches everything up because it'll show you forever. And it has pictures of the items, and it's really cool. But
Totally.
Colin had to leave. We're almost pushing 11:30. Unless y'all have something crazy. Zagla, you got something?
Nope.
No? I think that was a good kind of intro first step. It was a little bit of everything. Depending on the feedback, we can really dial it into certain things, But, I mean, each one of these topics, you could talk an hour about rehabbing. You could talk an hour about materials, an hour about everything. This could be a 12-hour seminar or Zoom meeting or whatever it is. But unless y'all have something crazy, I got to go hit the road, too. I got to go check on my contractors. They're probably sleeping right now.
That's always fun when you get to the house on a weekday and you're like, where the fuck are they?
Oh, my God.
I was like, Marco, it's Tuesday. Why is no one working on this house? Call them right now. This is driving me crazy. Like, they should be here every day.
And that brings up one more point. So I use my cash for my rehabs, and I use private money to buy the house. So I buy the house for 100. I'm using my own cash for the rehab. And even doing it that way, the interest will eat you alive. Some of these houses, my interest is $50 a day. And there's guys that won't show up for a week, or one contractor is trying to piggyback on 3 of my deals, and he's short on money on this one, so he's robbing Peter to pay Paul, kind of a thing. And if you go a week with a dead property, that could cost you $300, $400, $500. And Hillary is absolutely right. There is nothing more frustrating than driving by a house on a Friday or on a Monday, and then driving by that house on Friday and nothing is done. It's I just lit money on fire.
Or when you're trying to do foundation and it rains for 3 weeks straight because you can't do foundation when it's raining for that long.
Well, I've got 4 houses waiting on my floor guy because I love this guy. He knows exactly what I use. He goes to Home Depot. I don't even have to buy. He just goes and gets it. And he just called me. He's like, hey, I'm stuck on a job in Canyon Lake. It'll be next week. So all these houses are dead. So that's $2,000 in interest that's just gone.
Yeah.
And I could go call someone else and push that envelope, but I'm just but yeah, rain and foundations. Or raining and outside paint.
Yeah, exactly. There's just all these unknowns. So you'd really just have to make sure you budget extra time and extra money into every deal just so you're not always scrambling. That's the worst, is when you're way over on something and you just need to get it done.
Yeah, or your $25,000 rehab is now 30 because you had 2 weeks of downtime because of rain and contractors, and then wood went up, and then the electrician found that the panel was messed up, and that's just to rehab it. Then when you go to resell it, the inspector goes in there and gives you a page this long, and you spend another $5,000. So now you're 10 grand over budget, just like that. So always
do an inspection on y'all's wholesales or your investments that you purchased before, or is it because y'all are just so good, kind of looking at it with your contractors that y'all don't do an inspection beforehand?
I don't do inspections unless it's commercial stuff. I'm buying a building in downtown Seguin, and I did have it inspected because it's commercial and there's different codes and different things. No, you don't have time to get an inspection. These houses are moving quick. That's why you just got to have that oh shit money.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit.
I don't inspect before I buy anything either. Yeah. Wholesale transactions move so quickly that if you're buying one, you just have to move, especially right now. Right now is not the time to be offering way lower and move slow because everything's going quickly.
Yeah.
We bought one in 4 days. Marco found a stellar deal at we bought a house for $46,500. And it's worth a ton. And I don't even know how I give him the credit for all of that because he contracted it, he negotiated it. There were all these other wholesalers that wanted it. Marco built the rapport and then figured out the creative financing on the back end in a day. So
crazy.
That guy, he might just be playing video games all day, but when the one right deal comes along, he's ready to hustle.
Oh, Marco. Yeah, he should take over the Dos Equis guy. He kind of has that look.
He's in a really chill phase of his life where he's just like real laid back, like not on social media, living
like
life
it.
to the fullest.
I'm jealous. But all right, go out and tackle the world. I think these are all good things. I think this will be maybe even like a series where we can start really, diving into different pieces of it. But I think this should make most of the agents that are thinking about getting into investing probably make their head spin a little bit, but maybe give them a little bit of direction. And at the end of the day, just start somewhere and go do something, right? Whatever it is, even if it's door knocking, so
Right.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, Eric.
Bye.